Hello, today I'm going to be sharing with you how to use a foam roller. My name is Usha Rose, and a foam roller is a really great self-massage tool. It helps to really get into the connective tissue and the fascia. If you have tightness in the hips or the low back, it's a really excellent tool to give yourself some ease in the body. So, we are going to start with the foam roller going across the back a long way. So you can just sit on the floor, bring your foam roller all the way up to the low back, and then slowly lean yourself back down. Come onto your elbows. And so now you have the weight of your body with the assistance of gravity pushing down on the foam roller. You can start to massage the low back by pushing into the feet and sliding your body forward and back. So right now we're just focusing in this low back area. We're using the weight of our elbows on the floor. I like to place my hands behind my head here to support my head and neck as I start to move forward further up the back. So we're taking it slow. You can pause anywhere that feels a little bit tight and let your body sink into that area, letting the tissues soften against the low back. So here I can put maybe one elbow down and continue supporting my head with my other hand. So now I'm getting right into the thoracic area where the rib cage is, moving slowly through this area, and I'm going to move up. Now I'm around the area of the shoulder blades, and this feels really great on my back. And depending on the space you have around you, you can adjust things around. So I'm just going to move the foam roller back so I've got a little more space in front of my legs so I don't hit the wall here. And when you get into the upper back, you can play with extending your elbows out to the side or kind of bring your elbows in, and this will create a little bit more of a round in the upper back to get in between the shoulder blades. And you'll notice here, to create more downward pressure in the upper back, I'm lifting my hips a little bit, pushing into my feet. And now I'm going to put my bum down and bring the foam roller up into the neck. Massage a little bit across the neck by rolling my head side to side. Gets a little bit into the base of the head, the cranium, around the occiput. So you can spend plenty of time just on that area, on the torso, the upper back. I'm going to just move on now to the legs. And since we started working with the back body first, we'll continue down through the back. So here I've just sat back up on the foam roller, but this time I'm bringing it a little bit more towards my tailbone. So I'm going to massage from the hips around the tailbone and the sacrum. And this can feel really nice in the buttocks and the gluteal muscles. So shifting side to side, so notice how I'm pointing my knees in one direction and going back and forth on the foam roller to massage up and down through the gluteus muscles. This is mostly gluteus maximus right now, the big bulky fleshy butt muscle, and massaging that muscle over on the other side. You can do this practice really slowly, really spending some time, and that will help melt the connective tissue even more. It usually feels really great to get into the tissue along either side of the tailbone and sacrum. So I'm going to continue through the back body. We can do some nice work for the sides, IT band, gluteus minimus and medius, but we'll get to that next. So right now we're going to start to scooch our hips further back and start sinking into the hamstrings. So right now we're the upper attachment of the hamstrings and the sit bones. And it's nice to warm up just going evenly through the right and the left, from the knee up to the sit bone. And again, you can do this super slow, even slower than I'm demoing, as this is for the sake of demo, giving you an idea of how to use the foam roller on all the different body parts. And now to get even deeper into the hamstrings, you can isolate one at a time. So I'm lifting my left leg, putting my left foot on the floor, left knee is bent, and isolating just the right side. And this allows a little bit more downward weight through the right leg. You can always sit on your bum as well as keeping yourself lifted through the hands, as I was just doing. All the way to the knee, and then do the other side. And again, you can spend as much time as you'd like on both sides. And we'll move further down into the calves, the gastrocnemius and the soleus muscles. Again, I'm just going to shift a little bit so I'm in the center of the screen here. So it does require a little bit of putting my hands on the floor and scooching my hips back, lifting my weight. And again, you can do the same thing for the calves, one side at a time, shifting forward and back. You can roll a little bit side to side. Alright, so we're going to come back up to the hamstrings and the thighs. And start to slowly roll over on to get into the side body. So obviously this works with one side at a time. It'd be really hard to do both sides at the same time. So we're going to start by putting the left foot on the floor again and bringing the weight over to the right. So I'm now bringing most of the weight into my bottom hand. Take your left foot across and over for more stability. And just continue with the same sliding. So right now, I'm really getting into the gluteus minimus and the tensor fascia lata, which it tends to be pretty tight on a lot of people. And this is a nice spot really just to sink in and hang out a little bit. You can play with moving that bottom leg around to see how that affects the stretch. And then using your elbow, a little bit of upper body to drag slowly the foam roller down the IT band. Ooh. So I'm putting a considerable amount of my body weight on the foam roller. You can modify this a little bit if it feels too intense by bringing more of your weight into your left foot and kind of lifting yourself up, also with your elbow that's on the floor and kind of holding yourself up a little bit. You could also lay down with the shoulder, bring the ribs to the floor and move a little bit slower, letting the thigh just sink into the foam roller. And in this way I don't really have that much of my body weight on the foam roller and I'm rolling side to side. But if you move slowly, very slowly, you can Breathe deeply and relax into it. So from here you can roll over and do the other side. I like to kind of work the body around in a circle. So I'm going to just continue rolling in the direction I was going and work on the front of the thighs now. So here I'm on my elbows and I'm using my elbows and pulling my chest forward to roll the foam roller down to the knees. So working on the quadriceps now, doing both at the same time, putting equal downward force onto the tops of the thighs. Oh, it feels so good. And you can experiment here. So now I'm working the more of the lateral quadriceps. So as I'm working the lateral aspect of the quadriceps on my right thigh, going up and down, you can simultaneously be working a little bit the medial quadricep on the opposite thigh. Oh yeah, that feels good. So what I'm doing is outwardly rotating my left thigh while I have my right thigh inwardly rotating. So simultaneously working medially on the left thigh and laterally on the right thigh. And then maybe rolling through to the center again. And I'll do that same thing, moving onto my left side a little bit, outwardly rotating through my right inner thigh, and rolling up and down. And then I would roll over to the left side, although I will just turn around so I'm facing the camera here. So coming onto the elbow, placing the right foot on the floor, and sinking into the left gluteus, minimus, medius. I like to just find a nice juicy spot and then roll my body forward and back a little bit, going across the muscle fibers. And then a little bit of up and down motion. Going down the IT band. Yes. Ooh, that feels good. And now sinking into the lateral quadricep on my left side again. Going all the way down to the knees, the lower attachment of those quadricep muscles. Coming to the center one more time. Cool, and then you can experiment what it feels like to roll on your belly. It's not an area that I usually tend to roll because it doesn't quite ache like the back tends to. So I'm just going to show you one more use of the foam roller that I absolutely love, which is a really great practice for opening up the heart, the chest area, pectoral muscles. So I'm going to take the foam roller now parallel to my spine. I'm going to pick my booty up and place my booty at the very bottom of the foam roller. So this is a full-length foam roller. If you have a small one at home, you'll have to get creative. There's those half foam rollers. You could use it certainly in the upper back and maybe take a pillow or a block underneath your hips. So I like to check that my head is resting on the foam roller here and it's following the same line as my spine. Feet are on the floor, knees are bent. And I'll just stretch my arms out to a T. Make sure the back of my head is on the foam roller so I'm not extending my neck and looking back behind me. But I'm trying to keep a nice natural extension, neutral cervical spine. And you can just lay here and rest for a few minutes, passively allowing the chest to open. Usually when I first arrive in this position on the foam roller, I like to make the snow angels with my arms. So I'll reach my arms up overhead, maybe extending at the elbows a little bit, and then bending the elbows down towards the hips. And this feels really good. The front of the shoulders and across the chest. So you may or may not be able to get your elbows all the way touching the floor. That's something to work towards. You can take some blankets underneath your elbows or maybe some pillows. Let's see. Up and down. Taking some deep breaths. If you find an area that feels particularly good, maybe having your arms extended will feel good to you, or having them down a little bit. And like I said, if your elbows don't quite touch the floor and you want to lie here a while, restoratively, then slide a pillow or a blanket underneath your forearms and your elbows, so that'll create a more sustainable stretch for yourself. Something else to keep in mind when you're lying here is to maintain a natural lumbar curve, but see if you can get your whole rib cage on the foam roller and the tailbone is nice and long. And that is it for our foam rolling practice. When you're done with lying restoratively to open up the chest, you can take a rest on the back. But feel free to play and be creative with the use of your foam roller, and I'd love to hear what other ideas you come up with. Thanks for rolling with me today.